They thought they controlled the neighborhood until they met the new sheriff in town. Maplewood Falls was a quiet little town where everyone knew each other, or at least thought they did. It wasn't a place that attracted much attention, and that's how the residents liked it. The sun cast a golden glow over the tidy front yards, and a dog chased a falling leaf down the street. It was the kind of town that felt frozen in time. Life was predictable, and change was rare. But that peace was about to be disturbed that a moving truck rumbled slowly down Elm Street, drawing little more than a passing glance. No one paid attention to the man in the driver's seat as he parked at the end of the block, where a well-kept but modest house stood between the older homes. He stepped out into the quiet, stretching his arms as if shaking off a long journey. His name was Jamal Williams. He had just moved in, bringing more than just a few boxes. He brought change. Jamal, a man in his early 40s, had a confident but easygoing presence. His simple clothes and friendly smile didn't make him stand out. He looked like any other resident of Maplewood Falls. But what no one knew yet was that Jamal was no ordinary newcomer. He was the town's new sheriff. As he unpacked his belongings, he had no idea that Maplewood Falls had its own way of keeping order, a way controlled by a handful of self-appointed enforcers. Karen Caldwell and Peter Martin had lived in Maplewood Falls for years. They considered themselves the neighborhood's unofficial rule keepers. Karen, sharp and sharp-tongued, prided herself on knowing every bylaw, even the ones that weren't enforced. Peter, her loyal follower, had long since learned to go along with whatever she said. Together, they made sure the neighborhood met their standards, and that afternoon, their latest target had just arrived. From across the street, Karen stood on her perfectly trimmed lawn, hands on her hips, watching Jamal unload his boxes. Something about his yard bothered her. Maybe it was the scattered items on the driveway. Maybe it was the garage door left open just a little too long. Either way, she saw a problem. "Peter," she said, clicking her tongue, "this new guy is already making a mess." Peter hesitated. "What's the issue?" "Look at it, clutter everywhere. This neighborhood has standards, and I'm sick of people moving in and treating it like a junkyard." Karen scoffed. Peter shifted uncomfortably. "You think we should say something?" "Oh, we're doing more than saying something," Karen replied, pulling out her phone. "We're handling this." She dialed the neighborhood association, not even bothering with pleasantries. "This is Karen Caldwell. We have a situation at 200 Elm Street. The new neighbor's yard is a mess. We need to deal with this immediately." After a curt nod, she hung up and turned to Peter. "Stay here and keep an eye on things. I'll take care of this myself." Peter watched as Karen marched toward Jamal's house, unease creeping into his stomach. He had a bad feeling about this. Jamal hadn't done anything wrong, but Karen didn't care about what was right. She cared about control. Jamal had just finished unpacking when he noticed Karen approaching. He wiped the sweat from his brow, readying himself for what was coming. "Excuse me," Karen called out, her voice sharp. "You need to clean up this yard. We have rules here, and your property is bringing down the neighborhood's appearance." Jamal blinked. He had barely moved in, and already someone was complaining. He smiled politely. "Can I help you?" Karen crossed her arms. "You can start by getting rid of this mess." Jamal's calm demeanor remained unshaken. "And what authority do you have to tell me that?" Karen lifted her chin. "I'm Karen Caldwell, and this neighborhood has rules." Jamal took a step closer, his expression unreadable. "So, you're saying I have to tidy up my yard within hours of moving in?" "That's exactly what I'm saying," Karen replied smugly. "You can do it yourself, or we'll handle it for you." Jamal leaned against his car, arms crossed. "And what exactly are you going to do if I don't comply?" Karen's eyes flashed. "We can escalate this. We'll involve the neighborhood association. We can even call the local authorities." Jamal chuckled. "Is that so?" He took another step forward, lowering his voice. "Well, I'd love to see how that goes." Karen's smirk faltered slightly. "And why is that?" Jamal smiled. "Because I'm the local authority. I'm Jamal Williams, the new sheriff of Maplewood Falls." Silence. Karen and Peter both stared at him, processing what he had just said. Karen's face paled, her confidence flickering. You're the sheriff?" she stammered. Jamal nodded. "That's right. And I've been here for less than a day, and you're already lecturing me about a few boxes in my driveway. Peter swallowed hard, looking at Karen, then back at Jamal. We didn't know. Jamal kept his gaze steady. No, you didn't. But that's the problem, isn't it? You didn't bother to get to know me before deciding I was a problem. Karen's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she had nothing to say. Jamal sighed. Look, I understand you care about this town, but respect isn't a one-way street. You don't demand it, you earn it. And if you really care about this community, then you need to start treating people like people. Peter shuffled uncomfortably. Maybe we got carried away with the rules. Jamal nodded. We all have something to learn, but it's never too late to start. Karen inhaled sharply, finally nodding. All right, maybe we've been too focused on the little things. I guess we should try to be better neighbors. Jamal smiled. That's all I ask. As Karen and Peter walked away, the neighborhood felt different. Change had come to Maplewood Falls, and it started with one simple lesson: respect. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Unfolded Tales Explained and press the bell icon for more amazing content.